Previously on Divorce Court. Why is there so much drama in your relationship?
When I talk to her, she want to argue. That's her main thing. She want to pick an argument.
Your Honor, it's because he always get caught up in lies.
So you're saying that Mr. Stoker lies to you?
He say he at his sister's house. I called her, and she was like she hadn't seen him.
You brought Mrs. Tanya Stoker.
Yes, ma'am.
Who is the defendant's sister.
He should start treating his wife like a wife and not a girlfriend.
Exactly.
Man, my sister just straight up go by, you know, how I was before I got married. Like, I'm done with all this.
Miss Moore, you are Mrs. Stoker's sister.
Yes, ma'am.
That dynamic is just unbelievable. Why is it important for you to be here today?
Because I want to prove that he's not cheating, he's not doing none of that.
I've had proof of him cheating. I've seen conversations in the phone, and then I found out that he had been talking to one of his exes.
Is that true, Mrs. Stoker? So what makes you think he's been cheating?
I mean, again, I've had proof of him cheating. I've seen conversations in the phone, and then a couple of months ago, this girl, well, I knew about her he told me about her as an ex. He told me that, you know, she was one of those exes that just, you know, didn't want him to be with anybody else. Any other relationship that she basically was gonna try to
Sabotage
it. So I knew of her.
Right.
But
you don't expect that they're having any continuing relationship?
Yes. She just recently reached out to me a couple of months ago and told me that they had still been seeing each other and that she...
Wait 1 second before you go any further. Is that true, Mrs. Stoker?
No, I probably have seen her, since I've been with her, I probably seen her like one time, and that was like at a store.
So is that, we're talking about because you all have been married 7 months. Have you seen the woman that she's talking about in the last 7 months?
Yes, probably once.
In an intimate setting?
No, ma'am.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you say he's lying?
Yes, ma'am.
So you said that the young lady hit you up?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say?
She basically told me that they had still been dealing with each other.
What, let me see, you submitted some proof to the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's look at it. Let's look at the proof. Okay. Hi, Heaven, this is Anya. Anthony and I dated for a while, and even after breaking up, we hooked up a few times. I became pregnant with my 5-week-old daughter. I've tried contacting him, but he didn't respond. That's the reason I'm reaching out to you. All I want is for Anthony to be in her life and step up like a man.
But I got an attitude, though.
What?
I have no clue.
But
what
I got an attitude.
Like I said, like I told her before she even knew this girl, before this girl right here she would do anything to not see me with anybody else.
So you say she's lying?
Oh, for a fact she's lying.
Your Honor, she told me out her own mouth that she knew that he was the father because she had already had the other guy that she was dealing with tested, and Anthony was the last option.
That doesn't know that. No, I was not. No,
well,
I was not.
I tell you what.
Because at first it started off like he just said, oh, I ain't seen her, I ain't had no dealings with her, this, and the third. And then after the baby came out, then I find out, okay, well, I did see her, like he said, one time. No, you saw her more than one time, and if you seen her that one time, then one time led to something else within that moment. Because how are we here?
So this young lady says that she had a baby in the last 2 months. Okay, which means we're looking at just under a year ago that the baby was conceived.
Right.
So if we backtrack, I'm gonna give you the opportunity. Just over a year ago, is there a possibility that you were in a sexual relationship with this young lady?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, Your Honor, that's
No
a lie. I believe that's a lie. But
No,
from
ma'am.
my understanding, she's supposed to be here today.
Well, you know what I
So-
did? Because, you know, when you submit evidence, I'm gonna try to check it out.
Exactly.
So I asked the court to see if Miss Anya Mose would join us, and she said she would. So I'll ask that the witness make herself available, because I'm gonna ask the questions.
Yeah, because I got some questions to ask.
Miss Mose, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I know that you sent a message to Mrs. Stoker about your alleged relationship with her husband, Mr. Stoker. Mr. Stoker has just made it very clear that you all had a relationship, but it is a past relationship.
Hey.
And that he was concerned that you would try to do and say anything in order to break up any future relationship he would have. Mr. Stoker, am I summarizing that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then let's tell the truth and shame the devil. Tell me about your relationship with the defendant, Mr. Stoker.
Anthony and I dated a couple of years ago. We ended up breaking up. And once we broke up, I found out that he got into a relationship with Heaven. And then a few months after the breakup, when I became pregnant, and I tried to contact Anthony to let him know the situation, but he ended up changing his number. And once he changed his number, and I tried to reach out to other people, the mutual friend that I met that introduced me and him to each other, I didn't succeed with that. So that's when I reached out to Heaven to let her know that, Anthony has the baby on the way.
Yeah.
And then once the baby came, I ended up telling Heaven that she was here. She was 3 weeks. And I haven't heard from Anthony, though.
Ms. Mose, I want to be real clear about this because timing is very, very important. You said you dated 2 years ago. And Mr. and Mrs. Stoker met and have now been married for 7 months.
Right, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Mrs. Stoker, how long did you date before the 7 months?
We dated for, I'd say maybe 2 months.
So you're talking about 9 months. About 9 months that you've known each other.
Right.
Would you agree with that, Mr. Stoker?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, so
I don't
Ms.
agree with nothing she done said. but
So Ms.
that's
Mose,
right.
you disagree with what Ms. Mose is saying?
Yeah, so she know that's a lie. She
Okay,
know it's a
so
lie. I
Ms.
already knew
Mose, I'm just gonna ask these questions real quick. From the time you found out that the Stokers were married, did you and Mr. Stoker have any kind of intimate relationship?
Yes.
You all have in some way maintained an intimate relationship at least once. Is that true or false?
Yes, that's why there's a baby in the picture.
Whose baby is that sweet little girl?
Anthony.
Hey, that baby yours, Your Honor.
He think it's a joke. It's not a joke.
Okay, well, you know what? We have done a DNA test at your request. Robert, may I have the evidence? So you're saying that in the last 7 months, you all have in some way maintained an intimate relationship at least once. Is that true or false?
Yes, that's why there's a baby in the picture.
But
That's
did you
very
tell?
false.
Did you
Very
also let him
false.
know that she also had said that she was dealing with somebody else because of obviously if they was dealing with each other, it wasn't consistent because he's married. But she did say that, like, did you not find out the other guy wasn't the baby? That's why you were pressing the issue on Anthony because the guy.
So the
that you-
plot thickens. Ms.
Yeah.
Mose, tell me the story.
The relationship with this other guy was just really nothing. It was just like a little hookup. Me and Anthony were in a relationship.
Y'all was not in a relationship. He is married.
So
No, not at all. I
But
didn't
you-
find out that he was married until I got on Facebook and seen on his status it said married. And that's when I contacted Heaven to let her know.
Your Honor,
So in
everybody
other
know I'm
words,
married.
Mr. Stoker, just one moment. So in other words, the marriage, it wasn't that you were continuing to see a married man. You were continuing to see the man you had already been dealing with, allegedly. And then when you
Correct.
found out he was married, you reached out to his wife. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
It's all
But Your
lie.
Honor, if that's the case, why did you give the other man a DNA test if y'all was in a relationship?
Okay, so
Why
now
would you
I'm
know
hearing
that
about a
and still
DNA
accuse-
test. Okay, whose baby is that sweet little girl?
Anthony.
Mr. Stoker, this woman says that that baby is yours.
Hey, that baby yours, Your Honor.
Well, you know what?
More yours than mine.
I claim her little cute self. I'm
Yeah,
telling you
more
right now.
yours than mine, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the like he think it's a joke. It's not a joke.
Well,
Like,
no, when it comes to
I
a
think what
child, it
she's
is
saying
definitely
is a joke.
Okay.
because
Well,
we
you
have
know
not-
what,
Everything's a joke to you, Anthony.
it is, and it's ridiculous. Like
Miss Mose, you have said very clear. There is a baby. I've seen some pictures of her. Okay. There is a baby. We know she already exists. She's as cute as she can be. Okay. So we know the baby exists. We know how old the baby is. You claim that that relationship continued. Mr. Stoker said that he has not seen you since before he met his now wife.
Right.
We have done a DNA test at your request. Robert, may I have the evidence?
Sure.
Because, see, I like to put everything on the table. Because
Your
your
Honor-
sister-in-law, Mr. Stoker, she came here, put her reputation on the line for you. Your sister-in-law came here and said that she supported you. So what we're gonna do is find out so that there are no issues, at least in this regard. It says the child, Amira Mose, probability of paternity for Mr. Anthony Stoker, 0%. You are not the father.
Wow.
Your Honor, that still doesn't mean
Try
that they
again.
haven't had any type of intimate relationship.
Right.
Because I don't see any reason for her to lie.
Well, I tell you what, a lot of things can happen. A lot of folk can lie. They can have a lot of reasons for lying. But what they can't do is beat the DNA.
Huh.
And I covered the O.J. Simpson case, and I can tell you right now, DNA don't lie. Thank you very much, Miss Mose. You're gonna have to find a baby daddy somewhere else. You got married to a person that you met after only 7 months. You didn't spend enough time to get to know who he was. You have to determine whether or not this is the kind of marriage that you want. Mrs. Stoker, do you want your marriage to work?
I do want my marriage to work. I just want him to stop lying so much.
I want my marriage to work too, but I got demands.
If you'd like your case to be heard on divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or log on to our website at divorcecourt.com. Missed a show? Watch full episodes on our streaming platforms and follow us on social media for exclusive content. Okay, now we're back in here in court. I'd like the witnesses to stand up and join the people who are here in front of this court. Mrs. Stoker, I think Mrs. Stoker owes you an apology on that baby situation. I do.
On a lot of situations.
Listen, I ain't been there for all of it, but I can tell you for certain that he is not the father of this child.
Well, I don't think I owe him an apology, ma'am, Your Honor, because he's still been cheating. Like, I still have proof of other messages that he's had with other women.
I feel like you're gonna do and another thing, and another thing, and
Right.
another thing. At some
Like every
point,
day.
you have to determine whether or not this is the kind of marriage that you want. You have to determine whether or not this is the man for you. You have to make that determination. Mr. Stoker says, yes, he used to be a dog, but he says legitimately he has made some changes in his life. You got married to a person that you met after only 7 months. You didn't spend enough time to get to know who he was. Because I believe very strongly the first 18 months of anybody's relationship, you dating their agent. You're not really dating the real person. You dating their agent.
And, Your Honor, that's what I feel like I got from him, his representative. I
Okay.
feel like he gave me his representative, and now the real person is coming out.
But then you have to determine if the real person is who you want. And you're seeing him with all his warts, all the scabs, everything is being pulled off and everything. But the fact that you won't say to him, I'm sorry that I accused you of being the father of another woman's baby, says to me that y'all got a whole lot more to work out.
Well, Your
A
Honor,
whole lot
technically
more.
I didn't accuse him. She came and said that was his baby.
But let me tell you something else. I'ma always take my man's side. I'ma always take his side.
Thank you.
There is not a woman in the world that could come to me and tell me that my husband did anything that I'm not gonna first talk to him about. Because you know why? Because he's my husband. He gets the benefit of the doubt. Why you can't give him the benefit of the doubt?
Your Honor, I did give him the benefit of the doubt. When she first reached out to me and told me that they had still been dealing with each other while she was pregnant, I brought it to his attention. He told me that he had not seen her, had no dealings with her. So I left it alone. And when she came back and told me that the baby was her, that the baby had been born and she had the DNA test from the other guy and it wasn't his, that's when I came back. We revisited because at this point now she's saying the DNA test that the other guy took shows he was not the daddy, so it's got to be Anthony. So that's
You know
why.
what it actually got to be? That she been hooking up with multiple people and she don't know who the baby's daddy is. That's something that she need to deal with. I don't know if the other DNA test, what it said, but I know what this DNA test says. I'm gonna tell you right now, I know that you're here saying that your brother needs to get himself together. But were you surprised with what you saw with Miss Mose today?
No, I was not surprised. The whole situation is just something that he always have situations in his life like that.
So in other words,
that's
it's
no
always
big-
stank. Something is always
Correct. It's always something.
Are you ever going to be able to get over your past? Are anybody ever going to let you Okay.
I'm far from my past. I'm nowhere near the same person, man. Like I'm a married man, man. Like I'm done with all that. I work, do everything right, man, and I got her family that could tell you that I'm not lying.
Mrs. Stoker, let me just ask you, do you want your marriage to work?
I do want my marriage to work. I just want him to stop lying so much. And
Mr.
then
Stoker,
when
I
have
see you
an
look
attitude-
exasperated. You look exasperated
Yes,
right now.
I want my marriage to work too, but I got demands. I demand trust. We'll never have a marriage without trust.
Will you do me a favor? Will you turn to look at your wife? Because I'm gonna ask the sisters to take their relative seats. Because the one thing we do know is family can be family, but they can't help you with this.
Right.
Mr. Stoker, what do you need for this marriage to work?
I need trust. I need the trust to be all the way back at 100. You know, stop being angry in the morning times at all at me, because like we supposed to be on teams. I don't see how you could wake up and be angry with me every day.
Mrs. Stoker, I have to be honest with you, that's not a big demand. That's not a big demand. It's not like he's asking for a whole lot. I think that's the foundation of any marriage. What do you need for this marriage to work?
I need reassurance. I need to know that I'm the only one. You're not dealing and talking and entertaining anybody else. And if it's something that you wouldn't want your wife to do, I feel like you shouldn't do it either.
Okay, what about the next time somebody try to lie and come in between us?
Well, I mean, that don't have nothing to do with, like I said, I don't ever come to you without proof of stuff, and you know that.
But you didn't have any proof this time. I'm gonna have to interrupt that. We don't have any proof
About the baby?
about the baby. We
I mean,
didn't.
other than what she said, I didn't have any.
But
any
you
other proof.
trusted somebody that your husband told you from jump would do anything and say anything
And
to
again,
break
the only-
up his new
The
relationship.
only reason I trusted it is because of what she told me after the fact, that she had gotten a DNA test. It wasn't the guy that she was dealing with.
Did you know her prior to this?
I
So
knew
you-
of her just from him
But
telling
you
me.
trusted her more than you trusted your husband.
And the only reason is because I've caught him in lies before.
But you didn't even know what kind of lying she was doing, because what we have now shown is she was at least seeing three men. Because if she claimed that Mr. Stoker could have been the father, she claimed that there was another guy whose DNA test didn't come back correct. So that's 2 no baby daddies. I don't want to see the next person that's getting ready to come in here, because I'll be here all day going through Miss Moses' baby daddies or the possible baby daddies. But you trusted this chick that you don't know from a can of paint before you trusted your man. That's something that you're gonna have to deal with. Mrs. Stoker, can you reassure her that she's the woman that you want and that you will be faithful to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell her.
I can reassure you that I'm the husband that you need and want, and that I'm being faithful, and I love you.
I love you too.
Y'all get out of my courtroom. Go happy, be happy. And quit picking on each other.
You better be glad that baby wasn't yours, so we was gonna have a problem when we got home.
You knew damn well that baby wasn't mine. That girl hit you up.
Better not happen again.
I actually like that couple.
It
I
was
think
fun.
they have a shot at it
They
if
do.
she can lighten up.
They do.
I've never seen somebody so confident. He was like, go ahead, Judge, open that envelope, because I know that baby's not
It was
mine.
great. I couldn't play. Listen, if he was the father of the baby, I would never play poker against him, because he's stone-faced. He was like, I don't, you know, whatever. But can I say, you may have another show with the one on the monitor.
Yeah, because she got multiple baby daddies coming out the woodwork.
Yeah, exactly.
But this ain't that show. You know it.